Welcome to the Soul of the Unexplained. I am your host, Jim. That's right, Jim with two M's. One, two, count them, baby. That is moi. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, folks. And tonight, I'm doing a little bit of a recap of 2024, and we're going to talk about all things weird and funky and unexplained. And regrettably, once again, my brother from another mother, my very dear friend, Mr. Roger Stokes, is unable to join me tonight. But I do have two wonderful people that are joining me to help review this kind of weird and odd and quirky year that has been 2024. So let me introduce who our guest hosts are tonight. And we'll start with my absolute favorite Denver Broncos fan. Of course, the man who I did, in fact, beat last week in fantasy football. Shh. Of course, I'm talking Mr. John Nyberger. John, how are you doing, buddy?
I'm doing well, but just so you know, I am historically bad at fantasy football. I think I'm thinking I'm close to the bottom in both leagues that I'm in, which that's just
Uh,
not surprising.
well, you,
I don't know why.
I'm in good company then because I'm not that great either. And of course, John is one of the many awesome bandmates that we are both in Hitchhiker together. And John is a phenomenal bass player. For those who don't know, and his taste in music is absolutely impeccable. And damn you, John, you've got me turned on to this band that you've been telling me about, and I finally went down the rabbit hole. It's a band called Sleep Token, and oh my gosh, I mean, I've always been a sucker for kind of really atmospheric, cinematic, big epic sounding kind of stuff, and I was not prepared for this Sleep Token journey that you sent me on. So
You're
thank
welcome.
so thank you.
Absolutely. You're
Right
going down
on.
the rabbit hole that I just went down. So
Well, yeah, I understand you've been kind of going down a synthwave rabbit hole of
um,
sorts for a while, haven't you?
both, yeah. I mean, yeah. Well, since August, lots of synthwave on my playlist since August. You
Yeah.
know, but
And
yeah, lots of that. Lots of yeah. Sleep Token has been the last 4 weeks. But
cool.
yeah, lots and lots of Gunship and Carpenter Brute
Oh
and
yeah. Hmm.
that type of stuff.
Yeah, I'm a huge Gunship fan, and Gunship and The Midnight, Time Cop 1983. Michael Oakley, that's one I got to turn you on to for synthwave, John. You got to check out Michael Oakley. Very, very dear friend of mine. Got some amazing music that you got to check out. And of course, joining John and I tonight is another person, speaking of impeccable taste in music, from the great state of Texas, or Tejas, if you're one of those people. May de Agua, or May de Agua, right? May, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Jim. And actually, if you're going to go with the my sound, it's the Portuguese my Jawa. I know, just stick
Okay,
with May. It works. I'm
May. Oh,
doing
yes,
pretty
indeed.
good though. Just hanging out here in South Texas where it's starting to look more like Christmas because, it like dropped below 60 today and I'm freezing my butt off.
Yeah. So
I know.
I got to tell you guys what I was doing today. I went my two sons and I, we decided to go Christmas shopping and did something that I haven't done in years, which is go to a mall, an actual shopping mall. And I forgot what it was like. I mean, especially the Saturday right before Christmas. We're just a couple days away from Christmas here in 2024, and wow, what a madhouse! I mean, seriously.
Yeah.
But I do have to share with you guys some of the stuff, some of the items that I found while I was out at the mall. Of course, this time of year, I don't know what it's like where you guys are, but here in Utah, when it gets to be Christmas time, you can always find the Hickory Farms kiosk, right?
Gosh.
So, so of course, I've got the Hickory Farms beef summer sausage, right? But even better than that, I've got the smoked bacon and cheddar cheese, which is to die for on really good crackers, and of course paired with the the summer sausage from Hickory Farms. And so yeah, I've got my Christmas Eve sorted. How about you guys?
Christmas Eve will finally be the gathering of all my mom's side of the family. We had the time a lot of that back in I don't know, November, mid-November. And so that was just all the younger generation in there just cranking out the tamales. And so that's the night that my cousin says, y'all better come and y'all better eat and y'all better take some of these because I have got way too many in my freezer now. So we've got that going on. And I don't cook anymore. I, you know, I kind
Yeah.
of like that. So.
Well, I don't know if I told you what I'm making for Christmas is what I do every Christmas. It's kind of become a tradition in my family. Is I always make a really nice big prime rib roast, and that's kind of like one of my specialties. So I just placed the order for the roast today. Going to pick it up on I think Monday, and really looking forward to that.
Yeah, sounds like it. My son shows up on Christmas Day and he usually cooks, so it'll be interesting to see what he does. I don't
Sweet.
care if it's cereal.
John, your family do anything kind of fun for Christmas
Uh,
traditions?
Not really. In fact, this year I'm doing absolutely nothing because our Christmas stuff, just because of schedules and the like, don't doesn't really start until the 27th. So yeah, we're gonna have a
Wow,
late Christmas this year. So Christmas Eve and Christmas Day, I'll be lounging around the house watching
sweet.
YouTube,
Nice.
maybe
Well,
producing some music.
hey, there you go. And folks, I got to tell you, John is working on this original tune that's this instrumental that just blew my mind. And John, I can't wait until you get a little more done on this demo that you're working on because it's just sweet as all can be. Really looking forward to hearing
Appreciate that.
that. Yeah. So another tradition that my family has at Christmas time is I don't know if you guys are familiar. I mean, I'm sure you are. The movie A Christmas Story.
Oh yeah.
And if you remember on Christmas Eve, when the turkey gets eaten by the neighbor's dogs, they go out for Chinese food on Christmas Eve. So for like the last dozen years or so, that's kind of one of the traditions that my wife and my kids and I do is we go out for Chinese food on Christmas Eve, and we have a lot of fun doing that together. So looking forward to that. Going to hit one of the local Chinese food establishments that we have here in my hometown where I'm here in Utah, and going to have Chinese food on Christmas Eve, and of course my Hickory Farm stuff. And we're probably going to watch a bunch of really sappy Christmas movies. We've already gone through the two good Home Alone movies. We watched Elf not too long ago. I gotta watch Die Hard 1 and 2 because let's be honest, folks, they are in fact Christmas movies,
Yes.
and like I say on social media, those of you that follow me on social media, it's not truly Christmas until Hans Gruber falls from Nakatomi Plaza, right? So,
Yes, I
so,
agree.
so Die Hard is definitely a Christmas movie. We watched Better Off Dead, which is like one of my all-time favorite '80s movies. That's a Christmas movie technically. And then we also watched Gremlins not too long ago, like the first time. I don't know how long that I'd watched Gremlins, but there's a couple other. Oh, A Christmas Vacation. Got to watch. Christmas Vacation. That's another classic that I'm always looking forward to. How about you guys? You guys got
I
any
just
favorite
watched
Christmas
that one.
movies?
I
Christmas
watched that
Vacation.
one yesterday. Yep, Christmas vacation. Yep.
I just watched Elf for the first time ever last week, just a few days ago.
What?
I've never seen it. I am just not a really big fan of what is his name with the curly hair? I can't think
Oh,
of
Will
the
Will
actor's
Ferrell.
Will Ferrell. I've just never been a big Will Ferrell fan. I don't know why. And it was cute. It was adorable. I didn't feel like I had just like I sat here for, a couple hours and did this. So it,
Mhm.
it wasn't a complete waste of my time. It was cute. And last year we showed Gideon, who's my 14-year-old, we showed him Gremlins for the first time last year. So
Uh-huh.
he thought that was pretty cool. But yeah, definitely I have to I'll find others to watch. I haven't even watched A Nightmare Before Christmas this year at all. For I just I'm never home. I'm always driving. That's all I do is
Now,
drive.
see, I've never understood the fascination with A Nightmare Before Christmas. It's just not my kind of thing. It's like it can't make up its mind what it is. Is it a Halloween movie or is it a Christmas movie? I mean, you know,
It's a Tim
can't
Burton movie.
it's a Tim Burton movie, exactly, right.
And I think that was the fascination because when you look at that 93, I think that was when you started to see the gothy kids becoming a little bit more mainstream and not
Right.
so weird and spooky, but something more acceptable. But if you've ever seen Screen Rants, they do their honest trailers.
Hmm.
You have to look up the honest trailer of The Nightmare Before Christmas because they do make some hot topic jokes in there. So, I mean, it really did spawn a whole new culture with that. And of course, that wasn't his first movie that featured his stop motion stuff. I mean, like Cabin Boy, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, a lot of those things. He just kind of had to build up to that to where he could release because that idea that he had for that story had he had that idea for years. But he couldn't start with that one.
Right.
So yeah, by the time that one came around, I think, being spooky wasn't quite so weird anymore. I don't know.
Yeah.
And now, like, everyone who wants to be nonconformist like everyone else, now no one's individual. I don't know. Anyway, I I st- I love the movie though. I love the movie. I love the characters.
I
I,
like the fact that Danny Elfman's in it because I'm a huge Oingo Boingo fan.
oh yeah,
Love Oingo
absolutely.
Boingo, so I do like I do like that, but I don't know, just never been really a huge Tim Burton fan. I love the first Beetlejuice movie. I loved Edward Scissorhands, but yeah. So, John, here's a question for you. We'll finish up our Christmas talk with this one. So let's think back to the when we were younger, 100 years ago. Um,
Yeah.
the holiday specials. You had the Charlie Brown Christmas. You had Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Hmm.
Frosty the Snow Dude, right? Of all those, let's Rankin and Bass, stop motion kind of type stuff. What's one of your favorites? Do you still occasionally watch any of them?
No, I never watch any of those anymore, but I mean, it was the same ones that were on every year.
Yeah.
Uh, Frosty the Snowman and, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer,
Hmm.
you know, those two. What was the one with the abominable snowman?
Rudolph the Red-Nosed
That was
Reindeer.
in Rudolph. Yeah. So
Yeah,
those two, those were my favorites, I think.
yeah.
I can't think of anything that would top that. I didn't really care for the Charlie Brown special. I mean, I watched it,
Really?
but
Oh my
yeah, I
gosh,
like
that's a
the others. Yeah, I like them a little
yeah.
bit better.
Well, tomorrow is when my annual Soul of Synth Pop Christmas show airs, and 3 hours of all kinds of Christmas stuff, including a Christmas song from our Hitchhiker bandmate Caleb Hanks and
Oh,
his
love that song.
Vin Proxima project, and a song called "Cozy AF." Right. So looking forward to that. May, how about you? Did you when you were younger, did you have any of the favorite Christmas cartoon or stop motion kind of specials like Rudolph or uh, you know Santa Claus is coming to town or any of that stuff?
I wasn't a big fan of the Santa Claus is Coming to Town movie. I don't know why, but I loved Rudolph, and I developed there a love for Burl Ives music. And then I was raised on a lot of jazz, so of course with Vince Guaraldi's music for the Peanuts cartoons, then yeah, definitely those were also big, but haven't watched any of them at least this year. Maybe I'll, subject my kids to one or two because Rudolph, I think, has always been a favorite of mine.
Oh yeah, you gotta like Rudolph. I mean, it's just gosh, I think wasn't this year like the 60th anniversary of when it came out or something like that. There was like a big thing on TV about it. So I'd say that's probably my favorite of the kids ones. But I also love the Frosty the Snowman one, narrated and sung by Jimmy Durante. I mean, come on, how can you not like that, right? And Trying to think of the other ones. I actually did like, Santa Claus is coming to town, but it's not as good as Rudolph. I'll give you that. And of course, the Charlie Brown Christmas special. I just, to me, it's timeless. I still love it. Love it, love it, love it. So, all right, folks. Well, believe it or not, that's not what we're here to talk about because we are, in fact, the soul of the unexplained, right? So I thought that what we would do tonight with May and John is just kind of do a quick review of what has happened in 2024. And, 2023, we had some pretty significant stuff. We had the congressional hearings with David Grush and David Fravor and Ryan Graves. And then this year, we had not one, but two congressional hearings, I guess we could say. One of them, of course, featured Lou Elizondo and some other notable people in the UFO UAP community. And then there was a Senate hearing that the new director of AARO, Dr. John Kozlowski, kind of briefed a small Senate panel, I guess you could say, on what AARO's been up to. So, John, looking back, let's talk about the UAP hearings and just kind of, just take a moment or two just to kind of, you know, now that all that's in the rearview mirror, how would you say the 2024 congressional UAP hearings stacked up against what we had last year with David Grush and Commander David Fravor and Ryan Graves? What do you think?
Man, that's a tough one to answer. Um, Last year's, I think I prefer last year's, and that's mostly because I think the biggest bombshells from this year, and that's in quotation marks, is the Immaculate Constellation drink.
Drank. So,
Right.
folks, we've
Yeah.
got we have. You can play along at home too. We have the official Soul of the Unexplained drinking game, and so the three of us have chosen keywords that anytime somebody says one of these keywords, we have to take a drink. So, John, your
Yeah.
keyword was what?
Immaculate anything, because there will be a lot of other words that follow that, I'm sure,
Yes, indeed.
in this talk.
And May, what was your word?
Mine is PhenomeCon.
PhenomeCon. I think that will come up. And of course, my word is Pentagon. So I think we're going to be doing some drinking tonight. Mm.
Yeah, we might get you're gonna
Yeah,
have to get another bottle of root beer.
I
But
might
yeah,
I might have to. This is my Sprecher fire brewed root beer with sweetened with um, honey, and it is the most delicious root beer I've ever had. So that's my beverage of choice tonight.
wow.
John, what are you drinking?
Oh, I have Mio drink and some water, and I have some Crown Royal Special Reserve that's like 20
Ooh.
years old.
Oh my heavens, Lord have mercy. May, how about you? What do you got?
I've got bourbon again tonight. This time it's the Four Roses single batch special tiny little amount. And apparently this one we were just talking about earlier, there's like 10 recipes of Four Roses bourbon. And the one I happen to have has another drinking word, not this, yeah, not this round though. It's got banana flavoring going on in there. So anyways,
You
if
you
this
got
were
it
the other podcast, that
right.
would be a drinking word.
And who would be drinking some of that? It would be Darren, right? Our good buddy
Yep.
Darren.
He'd
Darwin
have to. Just I don't know if he's a bourbon person or not, but just based on the fact that there's banana in there,
Banana, right? Yeah. Wow. So yes, John,
Yeah,
immaculate drank,
Immaculate
constellation.
Constipation.
Right. Here we go again.
I,
Caleb, we miss you. Where are you?
yeah, we need Caleb here. But yeah, and that's like a whole other conversation in and of itself. That whole thing. I don't know. Maybe we'll touch on that later. But I think it's at least partially BS. Who knows if any of it's true, but I think it's mostly BS. Um, but I really enjoyed um some of the other people on the panel, you know, um, Admiral Tim Gallaudet was very interesting. And Just space the name of the NASA guy.
Gold was his
Gold,
last
yeah.
name,
Anyway,
correct?
I thought his stuff was interesting too, but Tim Gallaudet, I think, is the most interesting. So take Tim from this year's and add that to last year's panel, and you'd have a pretty killer panel. But
Yeah,
as far as what Schellenberger's just reporting on the document that he got that I think is BS. Lou, you know what I think of Lou.
yeah.
Don't trust him. Anyway, so I was just like, yeah, not all that impressed. And then the NASA guy, he did what he could. He said some interesting things, but I think Tim Gallaudet was the most interesting aspect. And then the Senate hearing wasn't really that much of a hearing. I mean, there was some interesting stuff in it, but I got
Mhm.
the feeling that most of the interesting stuff was in the closed part of the hearing that we weren't privy
Oh
to.
yeah,
But I mean, there was still, I mean, the upside is imagine having those hearings 10 years ago. No way
right.
in hell would they happen.
No way.
It would not happen. The fact that we're even having them now and having serious discussions about it is incredible. And and you can tell, even though a lot of people thought Arrow and even the new guy John Kozlowski was kind of still being a little hand wavy about some of the things that they're investigating. The fact is that you can tell by their reporting that they're taking it very seriously and that there are some unexplained things. I mean, he said there's stuff out here. He's an engineer. Or at least a scientist. I think he's a physicist, if I remember right. I
Yeah,
can't remember,
yeah,
or I can't remember if he was into physics or math or both. But anyway, he said something, and I'm paraphrasing, but they had found things that is like I can't explain it. I don't think anyone can explain
right.
something to that effect.
Yep.
That's saying a lot when that's their job is to investigate this stuff. And he's like, we know that there are things
And
out there.
that's and that's yeah, that's a good point, John, because there's that one thing we have to keep reminding ourselves is that yes, greater than 95, 97% of all of these UAP reports are, explainable. They are a lot of times misidentifications, atmospheric, you know, phenomenon. In other words, prosaic and mundane. They can logically and rationally explain what a lot of the overwhelming majority of cases that get submitted and in fact are. But there's still that's all it takes really, John. If you think about it, is just one case out of the tens of thousands to really truly be anomalous that defies all other manner of explanation, debunking, whatever you want to call it. And quite obviously, there's a lot more than just one case out there that remains unexplained. So I think it is. We've seen a massive paradigm shift, for want of a better term, in the whole greater UAP UFO topic, because especially, and this we'll use this to segue into where we are right now, because we're living through an era that I don't think we've seen anything quite like this. And I really hesitate to use the phrase, but I'm going to use it anyway. There's, I think, a very big amount of what I would, and I really hate to use this term because it's because of the stigma attached to it, but there's a lot of, I think, mass hysteria going on with these drones, right? These drones. And I don't know about you, John, but I'm actually kind of sick of it. I'm I am
Yeah.
so tired of this drone stuff. But at the same time, folks, look at we've never seen anything like this. We've never experienced anything like this.
Mhm.
And I personally, and I'm just going to lay it all out right here for both of you and for all of our subscribers and viewers out there. I think the overwhelming majority of these sightings of these drones are in fact man-made, earth-based, you know, technology. I have a feeling that a lot of it, if not most of it, is our own technology, meaning originating from the United States. And now that can be military, Department of Defense. It could be Department of Energy. Okay. Let's start playing the word salad game. When people ask, oh, are these military drones? And the White House says, no, they're not. Okay. Well, then are they the Department of Energy's drones? Nobody's thought to ask
Yeah.
that kind of a
No one's
question.
asked
No one's
that.
asked that, right? Are they some other agency within the overall federal government of the United States? Or are we dealing with some individual oligarch, right? Somebody who has the means to develop this technology, and for whatever reason, they're causing this big ruckus over in the East Coast. But here's the thing, and here's why I don't think, just kind of like with the whole microcosm of the UAP subject, also like we see on Skinwalker Ranch, there's no one size fits all explanation to any of it, because there is in fact very credible reports of truly anomalous things being reported with some of these drone sightings. You see some of these pictures and they are clearly drones that we recognize, meaning they have rotors, 4 rotors or more to keep them going. There's fixed wing drones that we're clearly seeing, but there's also reports of orbs, and other things that don't really fit into that bucket of what we would traditionally call a drone. We've heard reports of these drones defying attempts to take them down by law enforcement, by various three-letter agencies within the federal government. Um, we had Ryan Graves. Speaking of Ryan Graves, whom I do consider an extremely credible source. Ryan Graves goes on the Joe Rogan podcast recently and talks about how there's some kind of what he called signature management going on with these drones, which means that they are able to avoid detection on many of the sensor platforms, both ground based and aircraft based, for targeting, whatever you want to call it. And something like that is not an insignificant thing to be saying, and to make note of. And when somebody like Ryan Graves says that there is in fact truly some anomalous type stuff going on, at least with some of these incidents, then it's not the kind of thing that we can all just dismiss out of hand and say, oh, it's all you know traditional drone kind of type thing. So, but still, it's not just happening in New York and New Jersey. I mean, it's being reported now all over the United States. But here's the question I want to pose to both you, John, and to you as well, May. How much of what we're seeing here is people just really, I don't know, is the right phrase, confirmation bias, that they want so badly to believe that there's something truly extraordinary and anomalous going on with all of these? Uh, I mean, I don't know. I don't have an answer for that, but I feel that's a question that should be asked, right?
Mhm.
Because the mainstream media in particular, and I mean, we're talking CBS News, MSNBC, CNN, in addition to places that have always been UAP friendly like News Nation, we're now seeing the legacy mainstream media are finally making this, on almost a nightly basis. They're reporting on these things. So it's there are the people in the one camp say this is, whatever intelligence is sharing the planet with us, whether it's extraterrestrial, interdimensional, or some kind of crypto terrestrial intelligence or ultra terrestrial, um, that it's now making itself known by way of these, massive drone sightings. And that's the thing, though, is that again, it's not focused specifically in just New York and New Jersey. We're seeing it in other states, including here in my own state of Utah, out by Hill Air Force Base. There's been drone sightings and things like that. So we also know that it happened. All these sightings that started with this current flap were preceded by a series of incidents over in the UK back in November around Thanksgiving time at several bases that the United States has over in England. So, and now we're seeing reports of strange phenomena, strange lights in the sky in Portugal and Italy and all these other places over in Europe. So it's clearly not happening just in the United States, which a lot of people that are quick to, poo-poo the whole thing. And I guess that's just it. Is where do you find any kind of common ground or stable ground with any of it? And is there, John?
Well, after looking at videos and photos for many hours, it's pretty obvious that most of the reports are mundane, explainable things.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely clear. But because let's be frank, a lot of people don't think they are as bad as they actually are at identifying things at night. But most people don't know, the lighting configurations on all the different types of aircraft and helicopters and other things. They just don't normally look up. And if you see some light going through the sky, your brain isn't even going to register it because your brain is thinking it's just some aircraft or whatever, and you ignore it.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have so many people looking up at the sky and seeing things that they can't explain. They take a picture of it, they take some video of it, they post it online, and people are like, "Yeah, that's amazing. Look at these orbs."
Mm-hmm.
They're lights on an aircraft, right? I mean, I've seen so many of those. I saw one video where people thought it was some top secret, or I can't remember what they thought it was. It was some sort of uh, Delta Wing type of
Right. Right.
shaped top secret craft. Or
Mm-hmm.
no, it was a C-17. It's just they just don't know what they're looking at. They're like, oh my God, look at that. And you have this grainy, pixelated, MPEG compressed video of some lights at night going overhead. They just don't know what they're looking at. How many videos have we seen of aircraft lining up? You hear people saying, "Oh yeah, it was just light, orb after orb, following the same path." Yeah, it's
Right.
planes coming in for a landing at the airport that you're 10 miles away from. These people are like they're near JFK. How many airports are in that area? You've
Right.
got military bases and regional airports and municipal airports, and
Mm-hmm.
all of these things have lights on them, and they're up in the sky all the time.
Right.
So it's kind of frustrating, and you can tell that there's a bias by the way people report it.
Yeah.
Someone takes a video of something, they see a light in the sky, and they say, look at these orbs that I got a video of.
Mm-hmm.
And you see lights.
Right.
That's all you know. And if I hear people call lights in the sky orbs anymore, I'm going to pull out all my hair. Oh, wait,
Wait a minute.
too late. It's already happened. No,
Seems to be the buzzword, though.
it is. That's the buzzword. It's an orb. Well,
Right.
I think people need to focus on what they know. What do you
Yeah.
know? And because here's what I think happened. Back to what your real question, I think, really is. I think there are some reports of anomalous drone-like UAP activity that kind of leaked out into the public. Enough people started hearing about it that more and more people started looking in the sky, and it just turned into this avalanche. It was a snowball that just built and built and built until it's an avalanche
Mm-hmm.
of reports that are now, it's mostly noise drowning out the real signal. And the real signal is, yeah, there actually is something going on,
Right.
but there's so much crap being reported that it's hard to sift through. And most people see those videos and go, yeah, those are planes. These people are losing their minds. They're idiots. And I don't think that's the case. I think most people just don't know what they're looking at, and they are very honestly trying to figure out what's going on.
Right.
But I think there really is something going on.
Well, it's like, I mean, think of it this way, and this will be a great way for me to plug the Skinwalker Ranch Insider membership. Is one of the advantages that you and I have, John, being Skinwalker Ranch Insiders, is we have access to cameras at Skinwalker Ranch, and we've kind of been, Eric Bard and some of the guys at Skinwalker Ranch have kind of taught us what to look for and determine, okay, no, what you're seeing is actually just a light that's out there and insects that are flying into it and catching it the right way. And there's just, you're seeing a digital compression artifact that makes it look like it's really truly anomalous, when in fact what you're seeing is perfectly normal, mundane, prosaic. But there is also, as we know, We know what orbs, real genuine orbs, look like on Skinwalker Ranch. Lucy the orb, right? And I've only seen now. I couldn't tell you how many videos I've seen in the last couple of weeks pertaining to this drone flap and orbs. And like you say, John, the overwhelming majority of these people that claim orbs, a lot of them, what they're looking at is a planet, and it's just like this digital effect that happens when you're looking through an optical zoom at a planet that makes it look like it's this really, truly otherworldly kind of thing, when in fact it's not at all.
It's because they're zoomed in, but they're not focusing. They're still
Right,
relying on their phone's autofocus, and it can't
right,
focus on what they're zoomed in on.
right.
So yeah, it's
and
worthless.
it truly looks like, holy crap, they've caught something
Yes,
that's truly, I mean, if you didn't know any
absolutely.
better, and if you didn't know a little bit about optical science, which again, thankfully through the Skinwalker Ranch Insider programming, or program, and having people like Dr. I keep calling him Dr. Eric Bard. He's not a doctor. Dr. Travis Taylor and
Pro-
Eric Bard.
Professor Barr.
Travis Taylor is in fact an optical scientist, and
Yes.
in fact I think that's one of his PhDs that he holds, is in optical science.
Yep.
And so he's been really good about sharing, how you can tell what you're seeing here is a certain effect, and it's when somebody like Travis says, okay, this is really something interesting, something that truly merits closer investigation, as opposed to saying, well, it looks really cool, but it's actually got a very reasonable and logical explanation. It just looks anomalous, but it really isn't. And again,
Yeah.
we're coming back to that confirmation bias. There are so many people out there that want so desperately to believe in something that is extraordinary and really truly exotic. And I'm not here to piss on anybody's parade, because I believe that stuff is genuinely out there, and we see a lot of that stuff, and we don't see it just on Skinwalker Ranch. We see these really truly exotic nuts and bolts, seemingly nuts and bolts craft, like the TikTok, the Tic Tac, and
The
you know,
TikToks,
yeah, the
there's Tic Tacs on TikTok.
oh, TikTok is definitely anomalous. I'll tell you what. But so yeah, I think there's a lot of confirmation bias that people want so desperately to ascribe some deeper meaning that really just isn't there. And it's really easy to get caught up in the excitement of these moments. And it's really easy to want to jump on that bandwagon and say, holy crap, this is really, disclosure is happening around us. And when in fact, I mean, again, I'm not necessarily a UFO UAP guy. I do believe that they are real. I do believe that there is life elsewhere in the universe, and I do believe that there's a very good chance that we at least share this planet with other intelligences that are not human and that are not, what we would call animals or whatnot. Um, I believe that all those things are possible, but I don't think that that's really what we're seeing with a lot of this. Now, could I be wrong? Absolutely. And if I'm proven wrong, I will be the first one to, admit it openly and say, that I got it wrong. But I prefer to err on the side of caution and on logic and rational thought. Because if you can't apply the scientific method to the things that we're seeing, then it's really easy to get sucked in. And we've seen how many people want to play situations like this to their own advantage, to use
It's
it. I mean,
happening now.
it's happening. We're seeing it
Yeah, we're
happening
watching it happen.
in real time. We're watching it happen. And I know very good friends. I've got people that are very smart, very well grounded, very rational people that have been taken in by a lot of this and are like, holy crap, I haven't really paid much attention to all this UAP and UFO stuff with all the congressional hearings, but now that we're seeing all this stuff happening in the skies, holy crap, I don't know. Is this really the start of something? And I'm like, maybe. I don't see the proof. I mean, yes, there's a shit ton of drones that are flying out there, and I do believe that there is probably some anomalous, maybe potentially exotic craft that are out there that are, at least sticking their nose in from time to time to see what's going on.
Mhm.
But I think the overwhelming majority is man-made technology. And the thing that concerns me, what I'm more concerned about is not aliens, it's not interdimensional beings, it's not angels or demons. What concerns me is that some of these may in fact be foreign states, like China or Russia, North Korea, Iran. But again, there's a lot of people that want to use that as a mechanism of fear and control. And those that would use that to generate fear are only looking to control people. And that's why, again, I try to take as much of take a step back, try to analyze as much as you can, as rationally as you can. There are certain voices, and again, Ryan Graves to me is one of those voices that I will listen to, and I will weigh what he has to say with a greater sense of, legitimacy than some other so-called experts that are called in to be talking heads on a lot of these programs. Um, but I don't know, May. What are your thoughts? It's been the Jim and John show on this topic. Let's bring you in on this. What are I know that you mentioned that your husband was watching the skies not too long ago. But what's your take on all this? Do you think that this is just some maybe top secret exercise by our own government, or maybe some eccentric oligarch that's flexing his money and his technology? Or do we maybe have a China or Russia or North Korea or Iran scenario playing out, trying to case the country, as it were? What do you think?
Wow, I mean, there's a lot really to unpack in all of that. I mean, first of all, I think him sitting outside watching the sky the other night was really more about hanging out with the neighbor and drinking. So, I mean, but we have had,
Drank,
there we go. But we
drank.
have had in San Antonio, the neighbor was telling us that close by actually to us, that something had been sighted that had like the triangle, but also it was identified as an experimental aircraft. Well, guess what? Do we have two? We have five military bases, but we have Lackland Air Force Base, we have Randolph, we have definitely have airplanes being flown out of there. Um, and so I think that's one thing to consider is that when you're a believer, you have to walk that line of believing in these things that you feel that in your heart, have to be. We can't be alone. But then also having that open mind to be open to, there could be very prosaic explanations for the things that we're seeing. And it is interesting that the timing of this flap is so soon after having these hearings about disclosure and about, secret programs that could be existing. Um, I think one interesting thing that my husband had told me about, and I haven't had a chance to watch it, but it was a video from I think Fox News, and they talked about that these drones are showing up around these areas where there have been some Chinese investment companies buying up land around sensitive areas like military bases and energy sites, so that it could very well be that they posit that it could be Chinese drones kind of surveying their area, like, yo, we're just checking out our property. Um, of course, why they have to do it at night is interesting, but and then you kind of go still with the believer part is when we're seeing the orbs that people are reporting. Well, it would stand to reason that if you've got an entity that is flying all these drones, creating this huge flap, I would think that the NHI would be interested in what's going on. And I
Mhm.
wouldn't be surprised if there are some legitimate UAP, non-human intelligence uh, craft probes checking out what's going on. What are we doing here? And then, of course, we went to the other far end of that theory. It was last week during Claude's stream because you were there, and we talked about, you know, just like we have Hat Man who says, "Oh, better make look like human," and
Mhm.
look kind of weird. There very well could be um, non-human intelligence that says, hey, let's kind of emulate what these humans expect to see.
Right.
That's
Right.
always a possibility. Um, I'm open to any of these explanations that can actually be verified before I make a solid judgment or, make a final word on this is what it is. There's a lot of things it could be. Um, but I do think it is very interesting that this is happening at this time with the recent hearings, that it is something that us believers are not so crazy anymore. And now, like John says, orbs. All of a sudden, orbs is a buzzword. All of a sudden, you do have the people that finally are able to come out and say, "Yes, I've believed this all the time. I've seen this. I saw this when I was a kid." And I don't feel so crazy saying it out loud anymore now that things are starting to kind of validate what
Right.
I've experienced. And then, of course, you've got the people who are just like you said, it's more of a TikTok incident, which of course we made the jokes about that being, that's the Chinese government thing to using TikTok to infiltrate.
Right.
It's so easy to do to us with our, obsessions with, the validation that we seek through social media, whether it's for actual validating our experiences and making us feel that we do have something worthwhile, or it's just you know the basic um the basic run-of-the-mill use of social media is for the validation of belonging or attraction or of meaning something. And I mean, we see
Right.
that all over the place,
Yeah.
honestly. So yeah, it could be a lot of interesting things. And one thing that we did talk about last night was when you just say people are not used to looking at the sky. There was, I think, a former governor of Maryland, I think, who got all excited about what they saw in the sky, and it turns out it was a star. Um, Starlink.
Yeah.
It goes up and you've got all those lights together up in the sky that
Mhm.
separate, and
Yeah.
it's a very prosaic thing, but it's not something that people actually look for. Venus right now is being hit with solar winds. So when you look at it in the sky, it has a tail.
Hmm.
So it doesn't look like what most people, and the only reason I knew about it was because Kevin was looking at it and he was like, Venus has a tail. I'm like, nah, dude, you need new glasses, which he did. But when he looked it up, there we go. Solar winds. Very, very um, sensible explanation for that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. My big thing is I have to wonder if some of this is just a big psyop
mhm.
by the people that are involved in this active cover up of what we've been hearing in these congressional hearings. The allegations that Grush has made and that Elizondo has made, and that uh, other people have come forward and said, yes, there really is these crash retrieval programs. There really is these reverse engineering programs. And what better way to kind of put the kibosh on the momentum of all this than to generate some kind of massive incident like this with drones to get people all whipped up into thinking, oh my gosh, this is disclosure is happening all around us, only to have it be this completely easily debunked and easily explained away thing. But yet so many people get caught up in the moment of it that they end up looking foolish and they end up
Mm.
looking silly. And what better way to set this whole momentum backwards than by doing something like that, where you are purposely doing something to put out both misinformation and disinformation, right? Because we're seeing that. I mean, John, correct me if I'm wrong. We are literally seeing both misinformation put out there, right? And we're seeing disinformation being put out there.
Yeah, I think it's both. I don't know which parts are the disinformation, but there's a lot of misinformation.
Yeah.
And while we're on this topic, while I was preparing, I thought it would be handy to put together a list of things for people to think about when they're looking at video and photos.
Yeah. Go for it.
Maybe now would be a good time to cover that real quick because this is
Yeah.
kind of how I think about this stuff, and maybe it would be helpful because I think it's too easy to, for those of us who do believe this stuff, can be real. It's too easy to say, oh, we hear all these reports, your brain assumes those must be true. And then you hear something else from somewhere else, and you're like, well, that must be true. And then your brain goes, oh, and they must be related. And pretty
Right.
soon you've got all this stuff that's uh, a massive tangle of confirmation bias in your brain. And you're like, oh, it
Exactly.
makes perfect sense. This all
Yeah.
must be true. And it's like, well, when you start untangling that ball of stuff in your brain, you realize, well, I don't really know the facts of that, and I don't really know the facts of that, and I don't really know that they're related. I'm just assuming they're related, so it's easy to do. But so kind of here's how I think of it. I kind of just made a list, but the first thing I think people should consider when you see a video or a photo is who created it, who
Right.
captured it. Do you know who created it or captured it? If not, can you verify who it was that took it or captured it? Where have they been sharing it online? Are there different resolutions of it available? Are people looking at uh, a highly compressed video when there's actually a better quality video somewhere else that might show something in more detail? Um, or are people taking things online and adding like sharpening to it, which is
Right.
what happened with the orb that was seen at the in the UK a few
Right.
weeks ago.
Right.
I can't remember the airport, but
It was in
it,
Manchester, wasn't it?
I don't remember. But it was
Yeah.
the original photo is a gray ball that's blurry because it's a blurry photo. Then someone took that, ran it through some AI sharpening, and it added some additional texture and features to that ball that did not exist in the original. And then that's what went viral. And people are looking at that going, "Oh my God, what is that? This is incredible. That's
Yeah.
that wasn't the original photo. The original photo would look like a grayish balloon.
Yeah.
That's literally all you know is that could be a balloon. It's a photo, so it's not moving. So
Yeah.
you have to just think about this stuff and think back to like what do you know? So
Yeah.
anyway, that was just one example. Some other things to think about is has this person that shared this shared other content? Do they have a history of posting other content and what is it? That might give you some idea of their motives if they're trying to pull something over,
Hmm.
put something over on people. The video quality itself, again, like I said, are there multiple quality levels available, different videos online that show different quality levels.
Right.
Does the quality of the video degrade at convenient moments?
Yeah.
A really common one, especially on because now there's apps to fake this stuff, right?
Hmm.
And a lot of those, what they do is the fake apps will show something and then out of the blue, it will just go out of focus, then back into focus, and it'll be moving around, then it's back out of focus, then it's back into sharp focus. If you see stuff like that happening, just start questioning what it is you're seeing.
Highly suspect. Yes.
Yeah, just remember that when you see some of these videos.
Hmm.
Are there obvious signs of editing or filters? Do you see things that are too zoomed in where they're removing context?
Right.
You really want to know context. What else was around you? Were there trees? Was it residential? Were there other buildings? You need,
Hmm.
how far away were you
You
from these different
you need
elements?
scale. Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly. Because without that, you don't know.
Yeah.
You need to be able to judge distances and things like that, which people suck at as well. We
Right.
should mention that too. Most people don't have any idea how to judge that. So they'll say, yeah, it was about 1,000 feet above me. I guarantee you, unless they're trained observers that know how to estimate that,
Right.
you don't know how far, and you don't know how far away something is unless you know how big it is. And
Hmm.
you don't know how big something is unless you know how far away it is. You
Yeah.
have to know, like, if you don't know either of those, if you don't know how big something is or how far away it is, you don't know what it is. You
Right.
can't you need one of those pieces of information.
Hmm.
Also, what were the weather conditions that day? Was it cloudy? Was it rainy? Was it stormy? Was it cold? Was it high humidity, low humidity? Was there fog? Was it hazy? That type of thing. Where were the sun and moon at that time? What time of day was it? What date was it? Where
Hmm.
was this taken? You
Yeah.
want to be able to get the time and date so you can get the conditions and get a star map. You'd be able
Hmm.
to get a star map of that time and date in that location.
Right.
Are the shadows and lighting consistent? Does everything like look like it should look?
Hmm.
Does the object interact with any clouds or any of the vapor or anything in its environment?
Yeah.
If it's a light, is that light reflecting off of other things,
Hmm.
like it should?
Yeah.
Um, Stuff like that. Let's see, just quickly. Does it compare to known aircraft or drones? And this is something else people suck at because they don't know what they look like. There's
Hmm.
I found a website explaining, the lighting configuration on lots of different types of aircraft. And that's the sort of thing you need to know to understand what you're looking at because people
Hmm.
are like, that doesn't even look like a plane, but all you see is the lights. Well, maybe it's a C-17
Yeah.
going at an angle away from you, and because of that, you only see certain lights, and it just looks weird to you because you
Precisely.
don't know what a C-17 looks
Hmm.
like.
Yeah.
You don't know what they look like. You can't identify it. So people jump from I don't know what that is to that's a UFO to that's an alien. Be
Yeah.
careful.
And again, it all plays into that confirmation bias, right? And we should have
Exactly.
made that one of our drinking words, right?
Yes,
Because we're
I'll
using
drink to
that.
it anyway.
Yeah, let's drink the
Hmm.
confirmation bias. There we go.
Yeah.
There we
I
go.
just want
It's
people to
not too
focus
late
on
to
what
make
they
it one.
I want people to focus on what they know. What do you actually know?
No,
Even
exactly.
if you see an odd light, and let's say someone took a video and you see trees, you see buildings, and everything's in focus, and the tracking is consistent, and everything's in focus. And I mean, imagine perfect conditions. It's not hazy, and you see this solid light moving across the sky, even if it moves and
Hmm.
it changes direction, changes velocities. All you still really know is that you see a light behaving this way. That's
Hmm.
all you know. Without
Right.
more data, you don't know what that is. It still could be someone with a drone, you know, out there, they're just flying a drone around with a light on, and that's what you're seeing, and you don't know it. Or it could
Yeah.
be, there's just other explanations. So you can't, even if you have the perfect video, it's still only part of the picture. It
Yeah.
doesn't can't jump from I don't know what that is to no one knows what that is, or it must be aliens, or it must be a UAP or an orb.
Hmm.
And if we start thinking of it that way,
Yeah, and
maybe
it's
cut through some of the mundane, get to the really weird stuff, and then focus on that and maybe figure out what's going on.
yeah, and it's the again, look at the people that are trying, and this is what I would say with anything, whether we're talking politics, whether we're talking, pop culture, or whether we're talking about strange phenomena, do not buy into anybody that is peddling fear,
Yep.
because fear is nothing more than a controlling mechanism for people that just want to subjugate you in some way, shape, or form. And I'm not saying, the traditional term of subjugation, like we're going to enslave us, but in some ways it is, because it's without realizing it, you're jumping on a bandwagon because somebody is sensationalizing something. And that's where the slippery slope comes into all this, because there are so many people that again want so desperately to believe in something truly exotic and extraordinary, when in fact there is credible evidence that exotic and extraordinary things are out there. But I'm just not convinced that this drone flap qualifies for that, if that makes any
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Again, I think there is a lot of there is some very credible, and there's some video that I've seen that really is compelling, that makes me go, okay, wait, that might be something truly
Right.
truly anomalous, worth
I
taking a
agree.
closer look at.
I agree.
But almost everything I've seen, like these reports of these SUV sized and school bus sized drones, they look just like man-made technology. But to May's point that she made a while ago, and I think it was the late great John Keel, who once had a theory. It was either him or Jacques Vallée, I believe. And forgive me for not being up on my history here, but had this theory that non-human intelligence, if you wanted to assimilate into a culture, in this case humanity, you would find a way to blend in without them even knowing that you're there. In other words, use some kind of mimicry, if you would.
Mm,
So some of these drones, there's some people that say, well, maybe this is in fact an NHI of some kind that has just figured out how to mimic our own technology. And does that apply in every instance or even the majority? No, I don't think it does. But
yeah.
could it? Of course, you have to keep an open mind about that potentially being one of the things. But again, it comes down to this whole one size does not fit all explanation to any of this. And
Yeah, 'cause the thing I think about then is these objects, whatever they are, not the current flap, but UAP in general, apparently can be invisible.
yeah,
So if you can be invisible, what's the point of mimicry in the first place? If you're still trying to be hidden, why not just stay invisible?
right. Yeah,
Why try to mimic?
yeah, yeah. Look at
Why
what
badly mimic an aircraft lighting configuration when you could just stay invisible?
exactly. And a great example of that is what appears to be some of the stuff that they're just now learning out at Skinwalker Ranch, where we've got this seeming object, and we don't know if it's there all the time or if it's transient or what the case may be, but it's clearly an object of some kind or some kind of force of nature that we don't know of that is able to bend laser beams and cause light to behave in ways that our current understanding shouldn't be possible, but yet it is. And you know, something that appears to be able to hide in plain sight because it's just simply not detectable by our wavelength of light that we can see naturally as human beings. So stuff that doesn't even show up on all the other sensor platforms. But yet, you got to admit, the stuff that shows up on the thermal imaging and IR at Skinwalker Ranch has been very compelling. And to say nothing of Pete Kelsey's LiDAR data, right? The SLAM scan, the SLAM
Mhm.
LiDAR. Um, I mean, we can kind of segue into Skinwalker Ranch a little bit here with what we saw in this most recent season of Skinwalker Ranch. But again, look at the approach that they're using at Skinwalker Ranch. It's a very deliberate, meticulous approach, and it takes time. There's one of the biggest complaints that people have about Skinwalker Ranch that annoys the hell out of me is people that say, it's so slow. Why is it taking them all season long just to get through the damn mesa? It's like, you if you're going in and trying to resolve everything in one 45-minute, 42-minute episode, that's fiction. That's not science. That is, I don't care what you think, that is not science. That's not the way science works. And again, I'm not a scientist, but I did go to school, I did pay attention, and it's just you got to figure out that there are just certain ways to approach these kinds of subjects to research them. There's a right way and there's a wrong way. The right way is to try to glamorize and glitz it up, and in the worst instances, script it and make shit up to make it more sensational.
Like a
And then
certain ranch to the
like a
north.
like a certain ranch that's close to Skinwalker Ranch. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Blind Frog
Where
Ranch.
I I said nothing, but drank. Um,
Drink. Yeah, I got
but
something in the throat.
yeah,
I
something.
think I
Like you
have
got
a
a.
frog in
I
my
think
throat.
Frog in
I
your
think you got a frog
throat?
in your throat, blind frog in your throat.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I said it. But yeah, I mean, Skinwalker Ranch is just completely different from all those other so-called paranormal, and I hate that term paranormal to begin with. But Skinwalker Ranch, they have been applying the scientific method. They've brought in true leading subject matter experts. I mean, Pete Kelsey is show me another guy out there that's more qualified than Pete Kelsey. You know, with imaging, with lidar, and all that stuff. I mean, Pete is a rock star in every sense of the word, right? Um, the data that lidar revealed in Skinwalker Ranch this past season with the cone, as they call it, um, I can't tell you folks the last time that I watched a series like that where that moment literally made me jump off the couch. I,
Hmm.
I mean, I honestly jumped off the couch and was like, no way, you know.
That episode, and then the one with the lasers stopping in midair.
Yes,
Those two, and then the one with the lasers stopping and then starting again.
yes,
Hmm. Oh,
yes.
I
Those
like when
are
that
like,
little
this
parachute just
can't
comes.
happen,
Yeah.
but it just happened.
But it just, and that's just it.
Yeah.
So put yourself in the shoes of Dr. Taylor and Eric Bard and Tom Winterton, Caleb Bench, Dragon, and Pete, and all the guys that were out there that saw this in real time. And now we've had a chance to talk to these guys and get, we've had Caleb on here a number of times, and they talk about what those moments are like to see unfold in real time. I mean, it's extraordinary for us to watch when the camera captures it, but to actually be there in person in real time is really, I think it's got to change you on some fundamental level, because your perception of reality, when you're seeing things that science tells us aren't supposed to be possible, but yet you just watched it happen, and you've watched it happen again and again and again. And that's just it. On Skinwalker Ranch, they're now starting to get repeatable results with some of the experiments that they're running. And Caleb said, the key word that he had, I think it was a year ago, he said that the word that kept coming to him when it came to Skinwalker Ranch was validation, right? And then now we're hearing there's another buzzword that they're putting out there. And because it was, Skinwalker Ranch Insider, I'm not going to say what that word is, but it's going to come out soon enough. And it's like, again, John, we're seeing this natural evolution and progression that is really just the scientific method playing out the way it's supposed to. And there's so many people that just don't have the patience for it. And to people that just want everything resolved like that are like, oh, let's just, take a bunch of C4 to the mesa and, blow the shit out of it and see what comes out of it. Yeah, that's how science works, right? Yeah, let's blow shit up. Yeah, that's pretty scientific. Yeah, I don't think so, but I don't know. I think Skinwalker Ranch is getting more exciting. We're seeing that rabbit hole open up more into ways that when the series started, I didn't expect to go in these directions. But yet,
Yeah.
but
It's
yet
gotten
here
a
we
lot
are.
weirder than I thought. It's gone. I expected one set of things. Like if you've read Hunt for the Skinwalker or Skinwalkers at the Pentagon, they kind of
Frank.
you. Oh crap.
Pentagon.
Pentagon.
Pentagon. May was just waiting for one of us to say
She
that
was just
word.
waiting to pounce, and she did.
I was thirsty.
But yeah, if you've read those books and you've heard the stories, I think most of the original stories were more related to cryptids, weird
Right.
things like that, or orbs.
Hmm.
But weird sightings of wolves and Bigfoot-like creatures, and the so-called dino beaver, and the predators scintillating hidden cloaked things moving through the trees, and you think of stuff like that, but lasers stopping in midair, lasers stopping and starting, a lidar scan showing there's a freaking cone or something over the ranch.
To say nothing of the stuff underneath the
Doesn't
ranch
make
that
sense.
lidar is not even supposed to. Lidar, it's not possible for lidar to see underground, but yet
Yeah.
something is causing those data returns to show something. How many hundreds
Or
of
the
feet?
black hole from 2 seasons ago
Right.
that, with no returns.
Yeah.
Where was that light going? Or the returns that are coming from further away than the lidar actually can reach,
Yeah. Hmm.
So
Yeah.
real fast though, I just thought of something else I wanted to say about the drones before we leave that topic
Sure.
that you touched on. And I wanted to, and you said ignore people who are pushing these fear-based narratives. And I thought
Yes.
of a perfect example of that I wanted to mention and I kind of forgot. But I
Okay.
was watching the James Fox thing that happened. Was that yesterday? I've lost track.
Oh,
Yeah,
I haven't even seen that
with
yet.
Linval Logan, Kirk McConnell, um, and I can't.
Leslie Kane, right?
Well, she wasn't on there, but
Oh, okay.
Kelly from UFO Rabbit Hole. I think is it Kelly?
Kelly Chase,
UFO Rabbit Hole.
Kelly Chase, is it? I think
I
is that her
think so.
name? Yeah.
Anyway, that I was in the YouTube chat, and there were several people in there. Um, and this one person was very worried and kept asking things like, I keep hearing, bad things are about to happen, and I'm getting really worried, and I'm concerned about my kids and my family, and I just don't know what to do. What do you think we should be doing right now?
Hmm.
And to me, that it hurt to even read that question because
Right.
so many people out there pushing these fear-based narratives,
Exactly.
and they're pushing the buttons, and people that are listening to them are getting, especially people more prone to being fearful,
Hmm.
they're going to hear that and they're going to start to get worried, I mean, because you've
Yeah.
got some people talking about, or is it an alien invasion, or some of the other things I've heard. You've got the Farsight Institute claiming that they're in regular, practically daily remote viewing contact with these aliens, and they know what's going on. And these are
Hmm.
the small drone ships, but the bigger ones are on the way. And
Right.
you've got another guy saying that it's a coup attempt of some sort, and they're going to use these orbs to try to assassinate Trump. You've got this other guy saying that there's an Iranian mothership off the East Coast, and
A congressman said that.
yeah,
Yeah.
which is
Irresponsible.
almost said something I really we would get in trouble for.
Yeah.
But it's stupid.
It's
Like,
irresponsible and stupid.
no,
Yes.
Iran does have a couple of ships that they use as drone platforms to launch
Hmm.
drones. We know where they are. They are nowhere near our East Coast. We know exactly where they are. They're not
Right.
over. These are not Iranian drones.
Yeah.
I can't remember some of the other ones I've heard, but people just got to stop listening. As far as I'm concerned, anyone who is making predictions, ignore them.
Right.
I don't think anybody
And
knows.
and that's and I'm glad you brought that up because that's another thing I wanted to talk about was another prominent personality that's come forward in this drone thing to push a narrative is Dr. Stephen Greer. Um, Now, again, I don't have an axe to grind with Stephen Greer. I really don't. I think we all owe him a very big debt of gratitude for stuff that he set in motion over 20 years ago. I mean,
Mhm.
the reason why we know a lot of the history that we know is because of work that Dr. Stephen Greer did years ago.
Yeah, the
So,
original Disclosure Project and all that
precise,
stuff. Yeah.
precisely. But somewhere along the way, he lost his way, I think is the most polite way that I can say it. And the reason why I say that is that if you are truly privy to information that can profoundly change somebody's life, and not just an individual's life, but all of humanity, as he claims, all right? When you truly have possession of information like that can change the world for the better, you don't put a price tag on it. You don't charge people for it. You just put it out there and say, here it is. This is something that can benefit everybody. So have at it, you know?
Speaking of that, wasn't he releasing all of this stuff this weekend?
Yeah, I mean he's been
I haven't heard
promised
anything about that
he's been
yet.
well he brought forward a bunch of so-called whistleblowers and at least two of them I nearly pissed myself just listening to them talk. I don't believe a word of a thing that they said. Now, I know that sounds harsh to some people, but again, extraordinary claims require a certain amount of solemnity and gravity and some means of backing up at least being able to say, okay, yes, I did work in this position and you can go back and check the documentation and verify it. I really was assigned to this particular billet within the military or law enforcement or whatever the case may be. And when you can't do that with certain people, it's it's already an uphill battle to begin with, but when you start throwing stuff out there, making extraordinary claims and not really being able to back up the big talk, um, it's a hard sell for me. And Greer, I don't know. I truly want to believe that Stephen Greer's heart is in the right place. I really do. But he is so convinced that everything we're seeing is the prelude to a false flag alien invasion that our government has concocted to lead us into the new world order. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
we forgot about the Project Bluebeam
Yeah,
people.
yeah. And there's things about Project Bluebeam that do make me think, okay, let's maybe put that on the back burner, file that away. Let's take a closer look. But overall, again, what is the purpose of stuff like that? And again, it's to prey on the fears and the uncertainty that so many people have in what's going on in the world around them. Financial uncertainty, spiritual uncertainty. People
Mhm.
just don't feel safe in general, I think, in a lot of ways.
Yeah. And if you want to get
So,
people to give you money, make them
That's what
afraid
I
of
was going to
something.
say.
yeah,
Anyone who
You want
tells
to
you
get
the
people to
sky is
vote for you,
falling.
make them
Yep.
afraid of something. If you want money or
yeah,
votes, make people afraid
yep,
You either
and
want to
tell them
sell me
you've got the
something,
answer. There you go. There's
yeah,
your money and your votes.
yep.
or a cult I want you to join.
Right.
So, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. The sky is falling aspect. It
And
definitely it reeks of that.
and
Yeah.
to that end, now, folks, I don't at all intend to recognize a certain well-known debunker who's always claiming that there's this UFO cult out there. But I've seen it myself. There are a lot of people out there that just, again, they want so desperately to believe in something greater than humanity. And traditional religion doesn't cut it for them. You know, the Christianities, the Judaism, the Islams of the world, the Eastern religions just can't fulfill that need that they have. So they start believing in something else that's out there. And again, like P.T. Barnum said, there's a sucker born every minute. And I really hate to put it in that kind of flippant type of a tone. I don't mean to be that way, but again, all these people that are so quick to jump on the aliens bandwagon. Yes, I think that that's one possible explanation for UAPs and UFOs. One possible, not the most possible, not the most likely, just one of many possible scenarios. Because again, I don't think it's a one size fits all, one explanation fits all to all this strange shit that's going on around us in the world. But there's always going to be somebody who's waiting in the wings to take advantage of the opportunity that this fear and uncertainty creates. And when you don't shield yourself against stuff like that, then that's when we start getting into the mode that I think we're in right now with this drone flap, is that people really don't know what to believe. I mean, there's so much uncertainty with who's really leading our country right now, right?
Mhm.
We've seen this unprecedented shift of power in the United States, and we're seeing a little bit more and more hints of instability all over the world, not just in the United States. We're seeing it in Canada now. We're seeing it in England. We're seeing these acts of terror are now occurring over in Europe that used to occur here in the United States, and we're not used to seeing them in other places in the world. And so it's like, again, people are just are I think people are feeling kind of lost, kind of hopeless in some ways, and they're looking for something that they can glom onto that's going to give them some modicum of hope, some modicum of finding a community of sorts where they belong and where they fit in. Because we all want that. We all want to belong to something, right? We all have certain communities that we belong to. May and I, we belong to the synth community. You know, May and I are big fans of independent music. You know, I've got a radio show that deals with independent music. And that's one of the communities that I belong to. I also belong to the Skinwalker Ranch Insider community, which I absolutely love. But I'm also, a member of other communities that are out there. You know, Depeche Mode fans. You know, Depeche Mode represent. Um, so we all have these little micro communities that we want to belong to. So it's not hard to understand how people can be taken in by all of this sensational stuff that's out there in the media regarding these drones and all these other things that are going on, because like it or not, some people like that like being scared. They like something that's going to give them things to talk about. And I don't know, John, I'm just really getting sick of
I know.
all the drone bullshit that's out there, because it's
Yep.
just
Well,
when
and
you
just to be clear, I think all of us believe there is something really happening that's truly anomalous.
I agree. I
I
agree.
think there is some aspect of this that's anomalous. It's being hidden in all the other BS that's happening around it.
Yes.
So just to be clear,
Yes.
I don't think this is all BS.
Yeah.
I think there is a kernel of actually truly anomalous activity. But as someone we know recently said, real UAP are rare.
Yeah.
They're rare. Um, but yeah, there's just too much nonsense happening around it. Like a perfect example, this goes back to the power and votes and money thing. People are already calling for, we need new laws, we need new, this and that. We need better detection capability and all of this
Mhm.
stuff. I don't believe for a second that the military can't track these things. Not for a second. That's bullshit. They can track them. They probably just maybe if these are truly anomalous, they probably can't say publicly that they can track them because it relies on classified technology,
Right.
maybe.
Hmm.
But so maybe that's why they're saying it. But come on,
Yeah.
obviously they can track them.
Well, and
That's
I and
nonsense. They just
I'm
can't share that information. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
And
A
forgive
lot of
me,
people are
those
trying to use this to their own advantage.
exactly. That's kind of my overall point that I've been trying to make for how long have we been on this?
And I've
But
been hearing someone else that we mentioned earlier, Big L, Lou.
oh
I keep
yeah.
hearing that he's angling. I don't know anything about this. I've seen like two or three times today that he's angling to become a UAP or UFO czar in the new administration. Like he's angling his
Oh,
way to
good
get in,
Lord, help us for that. No.
right? I mean, so clearly he has an interest in furthering any sort of fear-based narratives, or in his case it's more of a mystery-based, well, I can't talk to you about that, but and then he gets all
Yeah.
somber and mysterious, but he never actually says anything
Yeah.
that he could back up.
Yeah. You
I
you
think he's a
have
good
to reach.
salesman.
Yeah, the public has to reach a point where you have to say, okay, enough bullshit. Quit saying, well, I could tell you, but I don't think we're ready. No, no, that's not the way it works.
Yeah,
You don't tease like that and then pull it back, because what that makes you do is it, number one, makes you look like an asshole. Number
yep,
two, it makes it look like you're full of shit. And number three, it's insulting to the overwhelming majority of the public that are quite capable of figuring shit out on their own. Now, is there a lot of stupid people out there? You better believe it. But it's not so much that they're stupid, they're just lazy. They don't want to do their own research. They don't want to put the effort into learning about things until they're in a position where they have no choice but to learn about things. And that's the position you don't want to find yourself in. Educate
yeah.
yourself.
What's that
Find
they
out
say? You may not care about politics, but politics cares about you.
exactly. Very good. Excellent point. So, what else in 2024? Let's just leave, let's, hopefully in 2 weeks we won't be talking about these drones anymore. But yeah, we had to cover it, folks. We've had a lot of subscribers have been saying they wanted me and Roger or John and May to talk about the drones, and so here we've devoted almost probably a little over a full hour talking about the drones now. So we'd love to hear what you think. Are you one of these people that believe that this is part of disclosure, that it's part of what's rolling out? Um, I'm not going to say definitively yes or no, because, again, like John said, I think there is some genuine anomalous stuff that's interwoven into a lot of the stuff, but the overwhelming majority, I'd say 95%, if not higher, is perfectly mundane, prosaic, legitimate, earth-based, man-made technology that we're seeing in play here. Now, what's behind that and who's operating and who's causing these things to happen, that's up to debate and vigorous debate, and we should be having that debate. But do I see little green men or little gray men when people talk about drones? I don't, and I don't think the rest of us. I don't think that's where our minds should instinctively go when it comes to things like this. And if you disagree with me, great, fine. If that's what helps you to sleep better at night, if that's what helps you to feel more grounded, then by all means go there. But for me, that's not what works for me. I don't see little green men. I don't see little gray men. I don't see anything of that sort. I want something that makes sense. I want something that has data that backs up the claims. And right now, that's part of the problem. We're not getting the data. And I think that's
And
by
I should say, we don't want to discourage people just because most reports have been mundane things that people just didn't recognize. I don't
right.
want to discourage people from continuing to do that.
Yes.
Learn how to use your cameras and your phones to, learn how to use them in manual mode, learn how their correct settings to get the best images and videos possible at night, and keep taking those and keep reporting them.
Yes.
And because the government is not going to tell us this. And how many times have we heard this? The,
Right.
the government is not going to tell us. They don't want to talk about this. They just don't.
Yeah. If
This needs to be a citizen-based initiative. And so keep collecting the data and keep
mhm.
reporting it. And even if you report something that's a helicopter or a flight of helicopters or just regular air traffic that you just didn't recognize because something about it looked weird spatially and tricked your brain, you know, keep doing it.
well,
People
and
will
that's
eventually
yeah,
see them and go, okay, wait a second. That actually was kind of weird. Let's investigate that more.
mhm. A very good friend of mine once said to me, "You don't need the government to tell you whether or not something is real." And in that conversation, this friend of mine was telling me specifically about we were talking about UAPs. And he said, if you're somebody who's seen something truly anomalous and extraordinary, you don't need the government to tell you that it really happened. If you've seen a shadow being or if you've seen a Sasquatch, you don't need the government to confirm that you really experienced or saw what you did. And don't ever lose sight of that, folks. Government is the most inefficient creation of man. It truly is. And again, I got no horse in the race. I'm neither Republican or Democrat. I'm a proud independent. I've spent enough time in both parties to know that they're both full of shit. But ultimately, at the end of the day, they exist for the same thing, for their own self promotion, basically. So, very seldom does government truly have your best interests in mind. And I'm not saying that to be a anti-government person because that's not at all what I am. I'm just saying, again, educate yourself. Truly do the homework on all these subjects, and you'll find out a lot of the things that you thought and took for granted when it comes to this UAP stuff. You'll be surprised. There truly is some unexplainable stuff out there, but it's in the minority, but it still exists. And the fact that it exists, again, all it takes is just one out of hundreds or thousands or even millions of cases. It just takes one of them to truly be exotic and extraordinary. And we know that there's more than one case out there that fits that parameter. So,
Yep,
um,
this stuff's real.
yeah,
Enough. Either people here present on this call or our friends have directly experienced enough of this to know it's real. Not
exactly.
me. I appear to be immune, but other people I've heard have had some interesting things happen
Yeah,
to.
yeah. And you brought up a good point, John. Don't ever let anybody stigmatize what you've experienced. If you have a belief in these things, ask the hard questions of yourself. These 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 folks that really truly want to believe, and I'm going to get a lot of flack for saying this. and I don't mean this to, I'm not saying this to be mean or to cast aspersions on him, but um, a lot of the things that we see with Chris Bledsoe, there's some truly interesting and extraordinary stuff. I think that Chris Bledsoe is truly a man of God. I think he's a good person. He seems to be a very genuine, sincere guy. But I need to see more data off of the claims that he's making before I'm ready to jump on that particular bandwagon in any way, shape, or form. I find it interesting. I find a lot of it compelling. But again, I hate to use Skinwalker Ranch as the standard, but there's not that level of here's the data, here's the tests that were conducted, here's the independent verification, here's the hypothesis that was formed, and here's how we either falsified or verified the hypothesis. That's what we're getting at Skinwalker Ranch, that we are not getting with a lot of these other things. And again, same thing with Stephen Greer. Show me the real legitimate proof, and don't give me the bullshit about how it's all this big, because again, I can't bring myself to accept that there's this, you know, plan to create this false alien invasion for the whole purpose of enslaving us and bringing us under one world government. I mean, that's Alex Jones level bullshit. And again, if there's some of you out there that believe in that, I'm sorry, I can't even meet you halfway on stuff like that because it's not rational to somebody like me.
There's another saying about this that applies. If you don't understand how anything works, everything looks like a conspiracy.
Yes.
I think that's
And
true. These sorts of things.
and I will drink to that.
Yes.
So, something else that was fun. We're going to completely change gears and start just, all the serious stuff is out of the way. May, PhenomeCon, drank. Let's talk about PhenomeCon. What was PhenomeCon like for you, May? Are you going to come back? Are you and Kevin going to come back in 2025?
We are certainly hoping to. And he has plans. I think he was talking because I think we saw that the dates were announced recently. So yeah, we had a lot of fun. Like I've said, we made a big, road trip of it and, sent him home and then had my week to myself and, drove home. So it was great. It was great to meet you guys in person, to give you guys hugs, bring you root beer and beef jerky and, you know, all that stuff. It was a lot of fun. So,
What was say your top three moments from PhenomeCon?
um, okay. I mean, call me a little bit of a diva, but one moment that I have to relive over and over again in my head was when we were outside waiting for Brent and why can't I think of the name? You guys to bring stuff, and we were walking back into the conference center, and both of these lovely gentlemen opened a door for me. And so I couldn't help but, I have these two doors open for me, and all I just, I'm here. I mean, there we go. I just,
I
um,
remember that.
this,
There was a grand entrance you made.
there you go. But I think honestly, it is moments like that, we have fun moments like that with friends that, they're just memorable. But I really enjoyed, oh my goodness. Well, the Skinwalker Ranch panel, when Travis Taylor was running late, and so it turned into the little roast.
Thomas and Dragon roasting Travis. Yeah,
Yes, it was so
that was
great.
pure gold.
It
That
was.
was
That was
awesome.
classic.
And then of course there was you two guys playing with Hitchhiker, and that was just awesome to see you guys playing on the stage, having fun up there. It was a very, very lengthy show. So I mean, kudos to you guys for sticking it out
I'm
for
still
all that
recovering.
time on your
Yeah.
feet, and Jim's poor tambourine hand, so there you
Look,
go. Three
look at
moments.
this, folks. I have the mobility of my thumb back. How about that?
It
It
only
only
took
it,
several
it
months.
Months
only took me
later.
4 months.
So yeah, but yeah, absolutely. We are hoping to return. If not this year, even though Kevin is pretty insistent. If not this year, at least the year after. Or next year or the year after.
Awesome. John, how about you? What were your top three takeaways from PhenomeCon?
Oh, God. How do you have just three? That whole summer is just weird.
Yeah.
I still blame Michelle. You'll understand why. But yeah, the whole summer was strange and interesting
Yeah.
and wild and a lot of fun. But yeah, I mean, for me, the of course it's the hitchhiker stuff is the
Right.
that getting to hang out, go fly out to Huntsville and rehearse with the guys and hang out with them for a few days out there. Getting a bed and breakfast, or not a bed and breakfast, but an Airbnb with Micah Hanks and Caleb Hanks and Caleb's wife Charlotte, and me and you hanging out, staying up late, drinking beer and talking UFOs and Area 51 and Bob Lazar and you know give me
Yep.
a break, man. I mean, and then actually getting to PhenomeCon and actually getting to play, like
Yeah.
this, my stress levels were stratospheric leading up to that, thinking
Mhm.
of all the things that we hadn't, because we didn't know what our sound system was going to be. We didn't know what the stage layout was going to be for sure. We didn't know anything. We were not prepared. So, man, you and I think we both were like bringing everything we could think of. I'm like, okay, we've got extra guitar cables, and what if someone forgets guitar picks? And we've got extra tape and extra power supplies and USB power supplies and power strips and
Yep.
extension cords and guitar strings and bass strings and um, all of this stuff that
Yeah.
just in case, Um, but then to get to the actual show, doing the show, the after party, hanging out with everybody,
Yeah.
that is like a top five moment for me in my life. But at least top.
Yeah.
I mean, it was incredible. It was just
Yeah.
a special experience.
I agree. I'm trying to compare it against other major events. I mean, nothing compares to, getting married to my wife and the birth of all of my children. That's still the greatest moments I think in my life. But as a musician, being a member of the Recording Academy and going to the Grammys all the times that I did, and um, I can honestly say the time that I spent in Alabama rehearsing with Hitchhiker, taking that weekend to get to know Caleb and Micah and Charlotte, and uh, the first time I ever got to spend any amount of time with Travis Taylor outside of Skinwalker Ranch setting, and then of course the tremendous hosts that Jay and Michelle were,
Yeah,
and to have
incredible,
and to have their
incredible people.
have Gus and Brianna just especially Brianna,
Those were the dogs.
I think she
Gus and
adopted
Brianna were
me.
the dogs. Yeah,
So that
Brianna is saying she loves you is an understatement.
yeah,
I think she's infatuated with you. Like in a way, I couldn't believe my eyes to see her just fawning over Jimm. And here I am. I was kind of envious and kind of jealous because
right,
Gus loves everybody. I love
right.
Gus. He's
Oh
amazing.
yeah,
I've spent days trying to get Bree to like me, and at best, I could get her to not bark when I entered a room. I mean, that was like peak
right.
relationship for Bree and I. Jimm
Yeah,
shows up and she's cuddling up next to him and looking up at him with these like
Google
puppy
eyes.
doe eyes, and I couldn't believe my eyes.
Yeah,
That's funny.
But yes, Jay
yeah.
and Michelle are wonderful.
Yeah, I
Both
want to raise my
good friends.
glass now to Jay and Michelle Stratton and to John Stratton, Jonathan Stratton, who we got to meet at
Yeah,
PhenomeCon. That was another
it
one
was
of
a
my favorite
blast
things
too,
was meeting
man.
John.
Yep.
Um, Truly some of the finest people I have the pleasure of counting as friends,
Yep.
and the absolute privilege that I have of considering Jay and Michelle as friends, and to have this remarkable opportunity to be in a band with Jay and Travis is something that I hold very near and dear, and I'm very humbled, um, grateful beyond. I mean, I just can't articulate how truly grateful I am to find myself in the company of these extraordinary gentlemen, yourself, John, and Caleb, and Micah, and Travis, and Jay. Um, Anybody that knows me knows that music is truly my lifeblood. It's what courses through my veins. And a lot of people think that because I'm a synth guy that it's all just synth pop and synth wave, new wave, which obviously I love and I'm passionate about stuff like that. But just music in general, I love rock and roll. You know, I love George Thorogood and the Destroyers as much as I love Depeche Mode. I mean, honestly, I really do. Um, so to find myself playing in a band with guys that genuinely love music and are as passionate about it as I am, um, is just I couldn't ask for a greater gift or a greater blessing or a greater position to find myself in. It's truly been something that has truly moved me very deeply to my core. And again, just major toast and salute to Jay and Michelle and to Travis Taylor. And again, getting to know Travis Taylor, on a personal level, he's truly not only one of the most brilliant minds I've ever encountered, but he's just genuinely a fun-loving, good-natured, kind-hearted individual that I just think the world of. And I could sit and talk music with that guy for hours on end. And
Well,
same
with
thing,
all of them,
yeah, with literally with all of them.
exactly as from a musician's perspective,
Yeah,
hanging out with those guys is a blast. Just getting to talk to them.
it's a camaraderie musically, and I've been in a ton of bands, and I've never had the level of camaraderie that I already feel with Hitchhiker, with Caleb and Micah and Jay and Travis and you, John. As I've never had that level of synergy and just cohesiveness and brotherhood, I guess is the best way to put it. It's just really remarkable to have finally found that after all the years that I've been dedicating my life to music and being in bands and being a music producer and audio engineer. It's great to finally find myself surrounded by people that really not only share my passion but share the commitment to doing it and doing it well. And again, major tip of the hat to Jay and to Travis and to you, John. I mean, one of my favorite moments was being on stage with you and just watching you there with your bass, and you're rocking those shades, and you're rocking that hat that you look like you could have been a member of Toto. I mean, and I mean that as a compliment. I truly mean that as a
A
compliment.
little bit
So
like David Page.
yes, exactly. That's exactly who my mind went to was David Page.
Mhm.
So um, so definitely Hitchhiker was one of my probably my number one moment for PhenomeCon. My number two would be spending time getting to know May and meeting May in person finally after how many years of being friends, being able to give her a hug and meeting Kevin, your awesome husband, May. Uh, Kevin's definitely one of my people. I really like Kevin,
Cool.
and so getting to meet you and hanging out with you and Kevin, um, sitting up there in the VIP section with with you, John, and with Mara Lee and with Dennis Clark, and just all the great people that we were sitting with up there. And I got to say the just some of the presentations.
Oh yeah.
Pete Kelsey's presentation, Jay Stratton's presentation. Um, my jaw is still on the ground, but with some of the great things that Jay shared with us in that presentation. Um, what's the guy's name? Dave Schrader. His talk. I mean, I've never. If you had told me that I would attend PhenomeCon and somebody would give a presentation that would just about make me bawl in
Yeah.
public because he touched me right there in the heart,
Yep.
I already like Dave Schrader just because he's such a fun guy to be around. He's got such a great personality, such charisma, and but that talk that he gave was just right to the heart,
Oh yeah,
and that
completely unexpected.
completely. And I really enjoyed Nick Pope's presentation. Again, Pete Kelsey, the Skinwalker Ranch panel, or the roast of Dr. Travis Taylor.
Yep.
That was awesome. Um, it was just and hanging out backstage before Hitchhiker went on. Hanging out backstage and having Eric Bard and Tom Winterton come walking through and Eric kind of like seeing my white Gretchen being like, "Oh, can I play that?" Like, "Oh yeah, here you go."
You know what? That
So
was one of the weirdest things to me that it seemed normal, but also super weird was being able to just walk back into the green room anytime we
yeah,
felt like it, and
yeah,
walking
it
back
was
there and all these people that
yeah,
you've only known previously from TV and books
right.
and
It's like
YouTube,
yeah,
like they're right there and we're just
yeah.
chatting.
And I was like totally
Weird,
terrified. I'm like, I don't know. I'm not really a VIP. I'm just in the
right?
band. I'm in the band. And then Travis was like, "Hey, come on back." And I'm like, well,
Yeah.
"All right then." So,
Yep.
but yeah, it was so surreal sitting there in the green room, and here comes Dave Politis, and here comes George Knapp. I mean, that for me, I still can't believe that I number one worked up the courage to go and shake George Knapp's hand and say hello to him, which I didn't have the courage to do that during the first year of PhenomeCon. But then to have him introduce us and to actually get my last name pronunciation right when he introduced us. So um,
If he'd asked me, he would have had it wrong. I would have said his last name is Shellguard.
yeah, or could what everybody else does, Kajelgard,
Shellguard.
Kijelgrad,
Shellguard.
I can't say
yeah,
it either. My neighbor can say it because I said something, I said last night, I said Kilgard, and he goes, "Oh, Kilgard." I'm like, don't know what you're saying, but yes, that's how some people say it. But
yeah,
yeah,
You know,
yeah.
I just thought of something else that was fun for was getting to go to the SCU conference that I think was back in
yeah,
May.
yeah. You got to
That
go to
was
that.
pretty great. I felt like a fish out of water though for a little while, because there's a handful of just normies like me there.
Hmm.
Everyone else is, former, military intelligence, defense intelligence, all these
Yeah,
military, just former military, high tech people, and then there's the ufology crowd that was there, and I'm just
yeah,
in awe of all of these people. And then here, I felt like uh, Ricky Bobby, it was like I don't know what to do with my hands, it's like I kind of felt like that out
right.
of, you know, it was really strange, but at the same time, I was meeting some really cool people,
Yeah,
and you get into some really interesting conversations. Yeah, that was pretty cool. And that's where I met Lenval Logan, who ended up being on the thing with James Fox yesterday.
right.
Got to watch that because that dude,
I that's
such
that's
a
on
cool
my
guy.
that's on my to-do list this weekend is to watch that.
I don't really know him. I
I,
talked to him twice, but I'm just like, I just want to hang out with this dude, you
I,
know?
I another surreal moment for me, speaking of Nick Pope, was uh, talking with Nick Pope about of all things, Aha, the Norwegian pop group Aha, and Take on Me, to the extent that during one of our interludes there on stage, Caleb and I kind of kicked into this impromptu little, you know,
Yes,
riff
I
riff of
remember.
riff of Take on Me.
Da-da-da-da-da-da. I remember you doing that.
So,
We should
yeah,
have just played it.
yeah, yeah, no doubt. That was when Travis was taking leave of the stage for a moment. But no, everything about Phenomic, I don't know if we can top what happened this last year with Phenomicon. I really don't, but I want to try.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah,
even if we play again, and I hope we do, but
yeah,
play again there.
yeah,
Um, yeah, it would be hard to top that first time just because of all of the stuff surrounding it.
Yeah.
it just was such an interesting and special time,
Yeah.
that it just felt like there was something
Yeah.
extra special about that time period.
There really was. And they say, you can't capture lightning in a bottle. And that would definitely, I think, apply in this one because there was just so many special, memorable things that you and I can't even talk about that are so they're like the little personal trinkets of treasure that we're keeping to ourselves
Mm.
that we don't we want we that are so awesome and so special. We just, you kind of want to keep those nuggets to yourself because that's just something that was so awesome. You feel that by talking about it, it just would kind of, you know, draw a little bit of meaning away from it, if that makes any kind of twisted sense at all. But there were
Yep.
so many little moments like that at PhenomeCon. Between PhenomeCon and going to Alabama to rehearse before PhenomeCon, there were so many of those moments. I mean, guacamole,
I
May.
was about to say, that's exactly what I
There
was
you
about to say.
go.
I witnessed Jim
I'm
have a religious
Guacamole.
experience with guacamole.
I am anybody that knows me knows that I there are few things on this earth that I abhor more than guacamole. And the guacamole that we had while we were there in Alabama having dinner with everybody, I'm still having dreams about it. I mean,
You
it
had
was
like a
it was
tear,
it was that good.
a single tear
Seriously.
was flowing down, and you looked at me with a look of pained regret, a life unfulfilled at having missed out on all of this great guacamole.
Oh, damn right.
It was-
Yeah.
and I think we have photographic evidence of this.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether or not that photographic evidence
I know
exists.
it
I'm
exists.
looking at you. I'm looking at you, Michelle. Then yeah, um, yeah, no, that was another one of those little moments that was just, it wouldn't make a lot of sense to most people, but to those that know me, know that that was like a total, holy crap, did that really happen? Did Jim just really eat guacamole? And
We couldn't believe it. Like
yeah,
I'm looking at you, and Michelle's like, look.
yeah,
And I'm like, and you're down there like,
yeah.
oh my God, this is
A- a-
amazing.
Another surreal moment was watching the movie that we did with Jay.
Oh, Keanu.
Keanu, oh my gosh, I'm trying to get my sons to watch that now. But then
Yeah.
also listening to music, you, me, and Caleb listening to music there in Jay's music room, and
Wow.
Jay
Yeah.
pulls out that Gunship album, and I'm like, of all the things I never expected to see, in Jay's home was that particular album, and not only that, but to find out that Jay really, really kind of digs that music, and it's like Jay is just this coolest. He just exudes cool. That's just who Jay is, and I it was again, him and Michelle were such gracious hosts to us that weekend, and I can't recall too many weekends in my 50 some odd years that I've been on this earth that were as enjoyable and just downright memorable and awesome as that weekend was there in Alabama
Yeah,
with the
great.
Strattons. I mean, it was truly, whew, I don't know, man. Just there's not sufficient words, uh, and I can't articulate it well enough how appreciative I was and still am of Jay and Michelle. And I so hope that in 2025 we get to do it all over again with Caleb and Micah and Charlotte and
Hey, our
you
our
and I.
2025 world tour might have two dates,
Yes, yes, and
double from our previous world tour.
right. So, folks, stay tuned. We might next time Soul of the Unexplained comes on the air, we might have some news on the Hitchhiker front. So, stay tuned on that. That's all we'll say on that. So, one last thing I want to say, folks, before we wrap everything up tonight, is I want to raise a toast and raise my glass in appreciation to the one individual who is not with us right now, and that, of course, would be Roger Stokes, the my my best friend who started the Soul of the Unexplained with me, who wants so desperately to be here and be a part of these conversations that we have. And unfortunately, Roger is still struggling with some pretty significant health challenges. And Roger has asked me to pass along to both of you, John and May, and to all of our subscribers and listeners and all of the fabulous Skinwalker Ranch insider community, how appreciative he is of all the kind words and great messages that he's had passed along to him throughout the last couple of months. The messages of love and support and friendship mean everything to Roger and to his wife. And Roger, you're still, this seat is always open for you here at the Soul of the Unexplained, because this is our baby, brother. And we can't wait for you to get back in the saddle with us. And sorry, there's my son going out on a late night date, slamming the door because he's so excited to go hang out and do whatever it is he's going to do. But no, Roger, we miss you, we love you, and we're still praying for you to get well soon and rejoin us, because we miss your company. And we've already gone 2 hours, and without you here, me and John are not good for each other in that sense, because we'll keep on yapping if nobody's there to shut us up. So
I'll sit here and
we
drink.
talked for what, 35, 40 minutes
May,
before we started recording.
May will just sit there and be like, fuck it, let him drink. So, but but no, seriously, Roger, we miss you, and we can't wait to get you back. And we're still thinking about you, and just know that we all reach out to you and want the very best for you, and hope that you're going to get well soon and come back to us for sure. And closing, is there anybody that each of you would like to salute, or say a thank you to, or share a quick message to, or anything like that as we wrap everything up here? And May, we'll start with you.
After I just had to make sure to tell everyone in my house, stop making noise.
Shut up, you bastards! I'm talking.
Exactly. They all kind of sneak past me, and then I'm like, I'm on mute. Hurry up, move it faster. You know what? Mostly just thank you to you guys, John and Jim, and I really enjoyed doing these with you. Yes, I miss Roger too, because it kind of evens it out, and even though he's very quiet, but he just May has these imperceptible eye movements. I think that
Right.
Jim, you guys have that bestie language, and I have that too with one friend. Someone says something and we just look, and enough said. But definitely I very best to Roger, and that he will start to heal soon and get better and be back with us. But really thankful to you guys. Again, was really great meeting you guys both. And I always do enjoy these talks, even if sometimes I do just kind of sit here and just listen to you guys. And it's so it's so hard to jump in sometimes, because we all get excited about what we're talking about. And I think that's the really great thing, is I really enjoy having other people who find these things interesting, who also, like we said, are open-minded, are believers, but are still open-minded to prosaic explanations, and
Mm-hmm.
not stuck on the willful ignorance, or the willful wanting that confirmation bias.
Blind belief, yeah. Mm.
But
John, you didn't take a drink.
Frank,
Oh,
John just like
all right,
that was your word.
There we go.
did I
Well,
miss an immaculate?
oh no, who's the confirmation bias?
You just said it. You got
Just
to
said it,
drink.
do
Got
it
to
anyway.
drink.
Right.
So if anything, I'm always good for a drinking game. But yeah, just it's been a really good year, and I'm looking forward to seeing, what we're gonna do next year. I
Yeah.
mean, things are changing, things are developing, and someone's bound to say something stupid that we're all gonna sit around and make fun of at one point. So
Right.
I mean, you know,
Gosh,
And
look
who
at all the
knows, our
people,
alien overlords may arrive
right?
right?
There is
within
Yeah,
the next couple of weeks.
yeah,
So
yeah,
there's no shortage of material.
yeah,
So, so
yeah.
that's it. But and
and if
hoping you
they
guys
do,
have
we're here to talk about it.
that's
That's right.
exactly
Whether you want us to or not, we're going to talk about it.
if they let us.
Right.
But yeah, so just arm yourself with your cilantro and be safe and just looking forward to the next year.
Amen. Amen. John, how about you? You got a message for anybody? Anybody you want to toast or salute?
No, just I'll echo what you said to Roger. We need Roger back. He evens everything out. Um, has very insightful comments and keeps everybody in line, I think. So yeah, we
Right.
definitely wish him well and need him back as soon as possible to keep us on the rails because we are clearly not able to stay on the rails on our own.
Clearly, clearly.
There's rails?
There
So
used to be.
I gotta tell you, one last thing about music. I am so excited. I got my tickets to go see Kraftwerk.
So
The first time I'm seeing Kraftwerk since 1998, and I'm taking my eldest son with me. And of course, OMD are coming in June. Can't wait for that. But there's two other great tours that are coming to Salt Lake. Herb Alpert and the fucking Tijuana Brass,
holy
What?
crap.
right? Herb Alpert, who's
Yeah.
like 90 some odd years old, is and obviously most of the Tijuana Brass I think have passed by now, but he's got this. He's going on a tour. Herb Alpert and Tijuana Brass. I
Holy cow.
cannot. I gotta go see that because my dad, that was like one of his go-to bands to listen to, and I just became a huge fan of Herb Alpert and the Tijuana Brass through my dad. But there's another great tour, John, that I think you and I talked about. Toto are going on tour
Oh
with
yeah.
Men at Work and who's the other one? There's a third one. Oh,
Was it
Christopher
Stick?
Cross.
Christopher Cross. Yeah.
Christopher Cross, Toto, and Men at Work, right? And that brings up this great new documentary. Speaking of, weird, strange, fucked up rabbit holes to go down, there's this great documentary on HBO about yacht rock, right? So, like Steely Dan, Doobie Brothers, Christopher Cross, and it's like I went down the rabbit hole of watching that yacht rock documentary, and holy crap, man! There was just something about that era of music that's it's been so much fun to make fun of it through the years, but now it's like, holy shit, that was actually fairly
Yeah.
good music. It was really
Some
good music.
really good music. I was just looking at the participants: Kenny Loggins, Christopher Cross, Michael McDonald,
Michael McDonald, who was
Steve
like one of my
Porcaro from
heroes.
Toto,
Yes,
Steve Lukather, David Page, uh, some other people I don't even know. But yeah, I mean that era. Give me a break. There was so
and
much good music back then.
May Christopher Cross is a Texan.
Yes, he is. And you know
So
what? Speaking of Texas, Herb Alpert is not coming to Texas.
what,
Yeah, I'm looking at Denver and Colorado Springs are pretty much the closest. Yeah, no
John?
Texas dates there.
I'm gonna have to come to Denver. We're gonna have to go see that Toto show, that tour with
Oh yeah,
either that or
Toto.
you gotta come to Utah and see it. Come watch it with me here in Utah.
Are they
I
coming to
feel like
Salt Lake?
we're getting
They're
shafted.
the tour is coming to Salt Lake, and in fact, all of my band are talking about going to see that Toto show. All my band, I think we're all going to see OMD. We're all going. I think I think maybe Rob might be interested in going to see Kraftwerk. If you're any kind of a synth music fan, you've got to see Kraftwerk. I mean, Kraftwerk invented it. Kraftwerk invented synth pop. Kraftwerk invented modern electronic music, whether you love it or hate it. I mean, they are the equivalent.
Hmm.
They are the electronic music equivalent of the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, and Elvis Presley and David Bowie. I mean, that's how influential Kraftwerk are to a keyboard and synthesizer dork like me. And the fact that they're still at it and still on tour, this next year, 2025, is the 50th anniversary of Kraftwerk's iconic Autobahn album, which that's the song that started my lifelong love affair with the synthesizer. Was that that particular song. So yeah, just had to mention the music, and of course, like you said, John. Hopefully, if all goes well, we'll have at least one Hitchhiker gig, and maybe even more. We never know. But I'm also excited. Caleb Hanks and Travis Taylor have been writing some music together. Holy crap! Has it been good or what? I mean, that song that
Yeah,
Caleb.
that song Caleb came up with the
Oh,
other day was a hell of a banger.
wow!
Love that song.
Absolutely, yes, sir. So
So good.
my final toasts. I want to drink to the great friendship we have with Caleb and Micah Hanks. They are truly brothers in music and brothers in soul, I think. I think the world of Caleb and Micah. Can't wait to hang out with them again and play some more music with them. Um, Again, got to salute Dr. Travis Taylor and all of my friends at Skinwalker Ranch, Caleb and Thomas, Eric. Got to show some love to Dragon. Just think the world of Dragon. Think he's an awesome guy. Pete Kelsey, and again, Jay and Michelle Stratton, Nick Pope, um, but also to Mr. John Nyberger here. John, thank you for being such an amazing friend, and I hope you know how much I love the conversations that you and I have almost every day. Just talking about weird shit. It's
Likewise, brother.
great to chat with you. It's
Likewise.
been great to discover new music that you've turned me on to, and
Yeah,
you
speaking of
know,
tours, if Sleep Token swings through here again next year, we'll go to that too.
oh, nice. Heck yeah. Yeah. And May, of course, I have to, raise my glass to you as well. Thank you for being the wonderful person that you are and for being the great friend and ally that you are with not just the Soul of Synth Pop, but also joining us here on more than one occasion with the Soul of the Unexplained, and just for sharing your awesome spirit and just tremendous energy that you put out into the community, that the tremendous love and compassion and goodwill that you put out there. There is no greater ambassador for independent music, regardless of the genre, than uh, May de Agua that we have here with us this evening. And May, I promise to do this. This will be the
Oh,
last thing we do for the evening,
oh, yes, 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 yes. I'm excited for this.
folks. I got this beautiful package in the mail here, and I'll cover my address here, but it's from May,
Oh,
and
My
yeah.
real
You
name.
show May's address, but
right.
Right.
So so I have no idea what this is, folks. For all I know, it could be a big bag of weed. Who knows?
no, that's coming from me. I'm the one in
I was
You
just
Colorado.
sent you
saying.
sent me you sent me gummies, didn't you, May?
Well, I did use that gummy bear duct tape on the holes, so yeah, I was like, this
Oh
gummies.
my gosh, I love this wrap. It's a package within a package.
So meta.
Oh yes. Oh, I don't know if you guys can see how shiny and sparkly this wrapping job is, but
That's some pretty high quality wrapping there.
yeah, it is. Okay, here we go. Oh my heavens.
We need music to build the tension.
It's not a thong, I can tell you that much.
It's a pack of thongs.
Wow. It's a tortilla throw. This is awesome. Oh my
With a
gosh.
special bag of cilantro hidden inside.
Oh, there is. This is awesome. Thank you so much, man. Oh, taco. Taco, taco, taco. Mm-mm-mm. What do we got here? This little thing that says taco. I don't know if you guys can see that. Taco bar. Oh my. Here we go. All right. This is what it looks like. Little card here. There's some bunnies with a bunny with a taco. Holy crap. You know me too well, May. Oh, that's awesome. Should I read it to people?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
For wrapping up and pretending to be your favorite food, Merry Christmas. Love, May.
Oh,
Thank, thank you so much, May. You're
You're
awesome.
welcome.
Love you, love you, love you.
And
All
of
right.
course it has to be like the HEB label,
Right.
tortillas as
Yeah,
well. That's the kind of
yes.
stuff that HEB does.
I have no idea what HEB is, but it sounds awesome to me.
It's the Texas-based grocery chain that is just amazing. I mean, it's everywhere that we've lived throughout Kevin's military service. Nothing ever compared to HEB grocery stores.
That is so not fair. You've got HEB and you've got Bucky's as well. That's
Yep.
just not fair.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh,
I know.
yeah.
Keeping it all to ourselves down here.
Yes, indeed. Well, folks, thank you so much for sticking with us if you've made it this far. You have the patience of Job if you've made it this far on the Soul of the Unexplained. But I would like to issue a very big thank you to both John and to May for joining me tonight. I'd like to wish both of you a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And to all of our other dear friends that are out there, Happy Holidays and Happy Hanukkah. And I have to do a Mazel Tov and L'chaim to all of my great Jewish friends that are out there. And for those of you that don't celebrate anything, then just, I wish you the same modicum of peace and joy and happiness and good health. I hope that 2025 is better for you than 2023 and all the years leading up to it. I hope that 2025 is a truly awesome, wonderful year for every single one of you out there, whether you consider yourself a friend or not. Going to wish everybody the very best because we could all use a little goodness and positivity and kindness. And so that's what I want to put out there to all of you, even those of you that wish me not so well. And we know who you are. I know who you are. But seriously, folks, thank you for tuning in today. And if you like what you saw, hopefully, didn't repulse you too much, then hit that subscribe button down there somewhere. Hit that like button because we like likes. And Roger and I will be back with the Soul of the Unexplained in 2025. And we'll see, who knows where this drone flap is going to end. Maybe it'll continue into the new year. Maybe it won't. But regardless, I guarantee you that we will still be here, and hopefully so will you. And can't wait to go into 2025 and beyond with both of you, John and May, and with all of you, our wonderful friends and subscribers that are out there. Big toast to my friends at Skinwalker Ranch, the Insider family there at Skinwalker Ranch, and really to everybody, all of my Flynn's Arcade bandmates, to Brent, to Rob, and to Brett. Uh, I wish them well, and Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to them as well. And so, yeah, folks, that's pretty much all I got. Just remember to love one another, take care of one another, be nice to bunnies, eat lots of tacos, and just, don't let the negativity in the world drag you down. Do whatever you can to lift those around you up, lift people up, build people up instead of find ways to tear them down. Easier said than done, and I know that I'm not the greatest example of that, especially with some of the things I said tonight, but understand that I truly do wish everybody the very best this season and through the new year as well. So, with that, folks, Roger and I, and John and May and I will see you next time right here on the Soul of the Unexplained. If I can figure out how to stop the recording on this damn thing. So, see you next time, folks. See ya.